My guest joining the HD Connection today is someone I admired growing up and loved to watch as well. He also happens to be in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. He's a legendary switch hitter. He has his jersey number retired in the Braves organization, and he just joined the Braves coaching staff as well. Welcome to the show, Chipper Jones. Chipper Jones, man, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me today.
No problem. And Chipper, the first thing I want to ask you is, how did becoming a switch hitter, how did that even come about?
I think growing up with a father who was a lifer, baseball fan. He played at Stetson University down in Central Florida. Was drafted by the Cubs at one point. Decided not to sign. Went back to school. Got his education degree. Taught public school math for better part of 30 years. And when he was doing that, he was, offensive coordinator for a football team. He was assistant basketball coach, and he was the head baseball coach. So, in the springtime, we kind of knew where our bread was buttered. And his favorite player was Mickey Mantle. Mickey, arguably one of the greatest switch hitters, the greatest switch hitter of all time. And, I just grew up hearing about this guy. I never really got to see him play. And whenever we would go in the backyard on Saturday afternoons, we would imitate the lineups of our favorite teams. I was a huge Dodger fan. He was a big Baltimore Oriole fan. And, whenever a left-handed hitter came up, he's like, turn your butt around. Let's go. And pretty soon it became a challenge to me to hit left-handed, and I would stack my lineup with lefties, and it kind of took off, after that, to the point where then my left-handed swing kind of, became my natural swing. I think if most people ask me even today, would you rather see a righty or a lefty on the mound, I would probably say a righty so I could hit left-handed.
And it's funny you say that, Chipper, because growing up, I was able to bat left-handed and right-handed. Now, my dominant hand, I am right-handed, but I do more things with my left hand. My more natural swing is left-handed. Right-handed, I'm pulling everything, literally pulling everything. Left-handed, I'm hitting opposite field. I'm hitting up the middle. Whatever the ball is placed, that's where I'm going to hit it at. Right-handed, I'm pulling every single thing. Now, the Atlanta Braves organization just hired you on their coaching staff to be a hitting consultant. How did this come to light? And are you excited for that role? Because being able to play for an organization and then you're able to coach for that organization, that's a big deal, man.
It really is. I was broadcasting Wednesday Night Baseball for ESPN last year with John Shiambi. And, we were having to do it via remote satellite. I'm actually in my studio where I would watch the games and broadcast the games from. And at the end of the year, when it came time to think about re-signing with ESPN, I really wasn't very hip on doing it remotely again. I want to be in the ballpark. I want to be,
That's right.
I want to be talking to players, managers, stuff. I think it really took away from the quality of the product. So when John Shiambi took the Cubs job, I'm like, that made my decision, easy. So I called Alex Anthopoulos right away, and I said, hey, I'm a free agent again, and I'm thinking maybe get my old job back with the Braves. And he jumped at it, and I said, I'd like to be a little more hands-on. I still have a wonderful home life, and I don't want to miss any of that.
Yeah.
But maybe there's something that I could, and we came up with the fact that I could be at the ballpark at noon. I could probably stay until 5 or 6 o'clock when all the game preparation is over. The pregame work is over, and I could come home, eat dinner, and put the kids to bed and not miss, much of anything. So he jumped at that idea, and it gets me back in uniform for home games, and the guys have access to my phone number. So even if they're on the road and they have a question, I'm still available to them. So it's they say part-time job, but it's only part-time physically because I'm going to be locked into each and every game.
I love that. Now, I got this baseball bat right here, and we're gonna have some fun with this today. Now, I'm gonna start off batting left-handed, and I want you to tell me if anything is wrong with my swing. Just point it out for me, okay? Because you're the expert now. I'm not an expert. You played professionally for a long time, so
Okay.
we're gonna start with the left hand first. Here I am, right here. Boom, eyes on the ball. I'm there. Boom. Am I good?
Well, you got a little bit of a bat wrap around the back of your head. I would kind of get you to start more at a neutral position, because if
Right
you
here?
get back here, if you get back too far back, your swing is going to be long and slow. You're not going to be able to hit 95 to 100 miles an hour. So I like it right here. I like a little movement, a little rhythm, so that you don't get stagnant. Keep your hands loose, because loose muscles are the quickest muscles. All right. If you're all like squeezing the sawdust out of that bat, it's going to be a slow swing as well. So, but I like head down on the ball, eyes on the ball. You look good.
Now I'm going to switch to the right side. Here we go. Right side.
Okay. All right. There you go. Yeah. I don't have any problem. Just keep. Okay. So when you're following through, that elbow is kind of flying a little bit, which will cause a loop in your swing. Okay, maybe
that's probably why I popped up a lot there on the right side.
So if you keep that elbow going down, now you have a little bit of a downward plane to the ball, and when you hit the ball, it will create backspin, almost like it. I know you played golf before, right?
Yep.
Okay, so when you're playing golf, you want to swing down on the ball and compress the ball against the ground so that you get backspin, okay?
Yep.
Same thing with a baseball. If you swing slightly down to it, when you hit it, you will create that backspin and the balls will carry up and out of the park.
That's what I'm talking about. See, Chipper Jones on the HD Connection didn't even know his first coaching experience in 2021 was going to be right here before spring training even started. Now, Chipper, I got to take you back to 1990, right? You were the first overall draft pick in the Major League Baseball draft. Being the first player selected, a lot of people look at that as, okay, he's drafted first. He's going to do these big things. Nobody ever talks about the pressure that comes with that honor. I want you to speak to some of the pressure, man, that you felt when you was the number one overall selection.
Well, thank God it was 1990 before, all this digital age and, social media and stuff like that, because the hype and the pressure on guys nowadays is 100 times greater. Back when I was, coming up, it was basically just print and TV, was all you really read. But still, I think everybody equates being the number one pick with being the best player in the draft. I by no means thought I was the best player in the draft. There was a guy out of Texas named Todd Van Poppel that was like 6'7", threw 100, had a hammer curveball. Everybody wanted him, but he didn't want to play for the Braves. He wanted to go to the Oakland A's, and the Oakland A's had the 14th pick. So he told everybody before the A's pick, don't draft me because I won't sign. I'll go to the University of Texas and play ball. Mm-hmm. So everybody, it shied everybody off, and it really worked to my advantage because the Braves needed a position player. They had tons of pitching in the minor leagues. They had Smoltz and Glavine and Avery and Kent Merker, and they were loaded in the minor leagues at that point. So they needed a position player that could swing the bat, and I was their second choice. So it just kind of fell in my lap that way. And but man, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because there's only been 40 or 50 people in Major League Baseball that can say they were 1-1. They were the first pick in the first round, and Bobby Cox was actually the general manager who picked me. Oh wow! With that pick, and ended up going 17 years my manager at the big league level. So to say that I spent my entire career trying to make him look good for a flyer on this young punk kid from Central Florida was an understatement. Yes.
And I know all about your the area you from, D-Land. I played with a guy in college And I was like, DeLand? He was like, no, that's not how you pronounce it. And I was like, well, wherever you from, this is how you need to run the route. However you pronounce it. So I know exactly where you're from, man.
That's funny. We're from the sticks. You know, anybody who's not from Central Florida calls it the land, which is fine, you know, but if you're from the sticks now, it's the land, you know.
Thanks.
And, I obviously had to leave there and go to Jacksonville Bowls after my freshman year. So I spent 3 years in Jacksonville. Didn't make it back to D-land all that much after that.
Now I'm gonna keep the timeline rolling. 1994, your second year in the majors, right? Adversity comes. You tear your ACL while you're competing for a starting job. Mm-hmm. At that moment, what was going through Chipper Jones's mind as you tore your ACL?
I was crushed. I'd worked my whole life. I was 22 years old. I got a cup of coffee in 93 right at the end of the year and played well for the Braves and came into spring training thoroughly expecting to be given a shot to make the ball club. And I would say, you know, at the time I got hurt, I was sitting about 370. I had 4 or 5 bombs, was leading the team in RBIs. I mean, I had the team made. It was going to be me in left field, Deion Sanders in center field, and David Justice in right field. We already had our nickname. We were calling ourselves the Soul Patrol out there. And
say that one more time, though. What was the nickname, Chipper? Say it one more time.
The Soul Patrol. The Soul Patrol. All right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Deion came up with that, and he was an absolute hoot when we were out there. Always kept us in. But yeah, my first at bat, the night of March 18th, I hit a home run, and my second at bat, I hit a ground ball to shortstop, and I came out of the box, and I was digging, trying to beat it out. Well, the throw was up the line and pulled the first baseman off the bag towards me up the line. So he caught it and tried to tag me. Well, when I saw that he caught it, I planted my left leg to try and jump to the outside. And, man, it sounded like the whole stadium could hear my knee snap. Just, you know, blinding pain, went down for, a couple of minutes, but then, everything kind of swelled up and the pain went away. So I was like, maybe I just sprained my knee and got up and literally when they wiggled my knee, the top part of my leg slipped over the bottom part of my leg because I had no stabilizing force in there. And so to say that I was crushed, and when they told me that I would miss the entire season, I mean, I broke down and just started bawling. Terry Pendleton had to come in and see how I was doing because he could hear me crying, from outside the locker room. And I just remember thinking to myself, man, not knowing much about the ACL injury at that point, I really didn't know if my career was over. I didn't know if I didn't make it back, would I be the same player? So, yeah, it was the first bit of adversity that I was going to have to deal with in my career.
Now, I can relate to you. My second year in the NFL, I'm coming back I ended my year very, very well, strong. So I'm coming back. I'm looking forward to year 2. I tear my ACL, my MCL, meniscus, and had a bone fracture on one play in training camp.
Oh, man.
So just like you, I was a mess. I'm in the training room. I'm bawling, crying. You probably know Brian Finneran. He had to come in there, man, and console me. Michael Jenkins, all those guys, my receiver coach, Rabisky. But I was crushed. But one of the things I did, though, Chipper, I never wanted to feel sorry for myself. First of all, I had my surgery the day before my birthday. That was my birthday present to myself. Every card that every fan has sent me, I thumbtacked on my wall. So every time I woke up, that was my motivation to not feel sorry for myself and thrive and keep going. But kudos to you, man, because I know exactly what you was feeling in that moment. Now, I'm going to take it to 1995. You were a World Series champion in 1995. What was it about that 95 team that separated y'all from everyone else? Because y'all had Maddox, Smokes, Avery, Glavin, Justice, Grissom, McGriff, Klesko, Lopez, Belliard, yourself. Y'all had so many guys that are staples in baseball, period, overall. But what separated y'all from everyone else?
It was our time. I mean, we had been to the playoffs every year since '91. We had endured crushing defeats in Game 7s of World Series, other playoff series as well. '93, when I got my cup of coffee, I traveled with the team, and Philadelphia beat us in the National League Championship Series. '94, the strike cancels the World Series. I think the players went on strike in mid-August. So the last month and a half of the season and the playoffs were canceled in '94. Coming back off of my injury, coming back off of the strike there in mid-April, everybody was chomping at the bit. And I think it was the perfect storm of, like you said, a pitching staff that was in their prime. We had great mentors on our ball club. Fred McGriff, David Justice, Marquise Grissom, Blauser, Lemke up the middle. But we had this infusion of young talent that came up and was not intimidated in the least by being in that situation. Javi Lopez behind the plate. You got Klesko kind of platooning in the outfield. You got me at third base. A young Brad Klontz coming out of the bullpen. Mark Wohlers, kind of stepping into his own as a closer. Really one of the first guys that threw over 100 miles an hour closing for us. Solid bullpen. And, we were able to keep all those veterans on the roster and making a lot of money because we had so many young guys also on the roster making the minimum, So it was the perfect storm of, young and veterans. And we took the bull by the horns for once and really stepped on Cleveland's neck when we got the chance, because
that team was stacked too with Albert Bell. Man, listen, they had some guys over there. Didn't they have Earl Hershiser as well as a pitcher?
Yeah, Hershiser was there.
Omar Vizquel,
Dennis Martinez, Charlie Nagy, Omar Vizquel. Yeah, I mean, Albert Bell. I mean, they had dudes, Tommy, Manny Ramirez. I mean, they had boys that could hit the ball 500 feet. They were scary. Kenny Lofton leading off for them. So, yeah, it was our time. And I think, anytime you can be the last team standing in your sport at the end of the season, it's a great feeling. I got a chance to play in 3 World Series in my career, and certainly coming out and winning that first one my rookie season, I thought it was going to happen every single year.
I'm going to take you to Fulton County Stadium, right? Growing up, I grew up on Fulton County Stadium. Being outside, before I was able to get tickets to go inside, and just hearing fans, oh. And I'm going to talk about Turner Field. You had the last official hit in Fulton County Stadium and the first hit in Turner Field. What did those 2 ballparks mean to you, Chipper?
I mean, it's always really cool when, you have a significant part of the history of your home, and, the last hit that was, that there ever was in a stadium that dates back to the mid 60s. That's something else, I mean, it was a double off Andy Pettit in the 9th inning of Game 5 of the World Series. So not only did it mean something in the history of the ballpark, but we were down 1-0, in the 9th inning, and here I am leading off against a stud pitcher and get a double. Unfortunately, I didn't end up scoring. And we ended up losing the game 1-0 anyway. But certainly I knew at that point that I had the last hit in the stadium, and I was very proud of it. I knew we were moving into Turner Field after the Olympics. We went on a 3-week road trip during the Olympics because we had to stay gone. And Man, I tell you what, you want to talk about a long road trip, but we had, the next year we had a beautiful stadium and we were playing the Cubs, and I'm just thinking, it's the first time I think I may have ever rooted against the first two hitters not getting on base in front of me, because I wanted that opportunity to get that first base hit at Turner Field. We were facing the Cubs and a guy by the name of Kevin Foster, and sure enough, he got the first two guys out, and I was like, man, if he throws me a fastball here, first pitch, I'm just gonna serve this thing to left field, take my knock, and we'll get rolling in the stadium. Sure enough, fastball, base hit to left, and when I got to first base, I did this right here. I was like, "Give me that ball, boys! I want that ball." I got the first knock.
That's right. Man, I remember Turner Field. I actually had my prom in high school at Turner Field, so I have a lot of memories there, just like I do at Fulton County Stadium.
Way.
Yeah, I had my prom there, man.
Yeah.
I was a young puck back then.
Well, it's amazing that Turner Field really only lasted like 20 years. I mean, most ballparks will last 30, 40, 50 years. And they had built up the area there around the ballpark a lot better. You see improvements to the community and whatnot. We were always in the community down there in the inner city trying to open up baseball fields and softball fields so kids would have that opportunity to be able to play baseball if they wanted to. And I was sad to see it go away. I can't complain with the facilities up at Truist Park and the Battery and all the amenities that the new ballpark has now, but I'm certainly gonna miss Turner Field as well.
Now, it didn't take you long to win National League MVP, 99. That's the year you won it. Now, my question for you, before that season, in your off-season spring training, did you tweak anything to your game that allowed you and helped you win the MVP?
I had knocked off all the baby fat that I had and really was I was coming off a divorce was what the problem was. And my refuge that off season was to get in the weight room and get on the field, so
Chipper has really Chipper has some damn motivation. He just got to finish with the boys. Chipper has some motivation.
So most people will tell you when I walked into spring training, I had a little bit of a different look about me. I had I had a chip on my shoulder, but it was the biggest part of it was a mindset change. I think you can agree. Going through offensive coordinators or position coaches, you have certain people that you just click with. Okay. And so we signed Don Baylor in the offseason to be our hitting coach. And sorry, my dog's going crazy.
Oh, no, you're right.
Somebody's at the door. Anyway, I just hit it off with Don Baylor, and he came up to me early on in spring training. He was asking me what my approach was right-handed. And I was like, man, they turn me around late in games. It's usually with guys on base. I'm just trying to hit the ball up the middle and the other way and get my base hits. And man, he cursed at me for like 2 or 3 minutes. He was like, you hit third and play third for the best team in the National League. When you walk to the plate, they need to fear you. I don't give a damn if you strike out 150 times.
That's right.
They need to fear you. And we're going to get you hitting the ball out of the ballpark, right-handed. I was already a 30-homer guy, only hitting a handful of homers right-handed. That year, I hit 15 homers right-handed. I hit 30 left-handed, and it took me to a different level, to a different plateau, and that ended up being, the National League MVP, there in 99. So I have to thank, Don Baylor, God rest his soul, for really changing my mindset, going forward.
And for the young kids that's watching this interview right now, you need coaches like that. You need coaches that's going to push you. You need coaches that will tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear, and keep it real.
I don't, and if you're anything like me, I don't want to be patted on the back. If I hit a home run, hey, nice job. But I need to have a foot stuck in my rear end, because that's when I take it up a notch. You know, all my coaches that I remember through the years, and my high school football coach was one of them at Jacksonville Bowls. His name was Corky Rogers. He just passed away too. But man, he used to grab me by the face mask, and like if I'm missed a crackback block, you know, on the option play, or you know, dropped a ball or didn't run a precise route. I was a wide receiver too. So, you know, he grabbed me and rubbed my face in the dirt, and I hated him. But looking back now, he got the best out of me. And I look back and say to myself, he was probably one of the more impactful coaches that I ever had.
And that's love, man, when a coach can be like that. Now, growing up, who did you idolize in the baseball world? If you had to pick one person, who was that one person that you idolized in the baseball world?
I would say Cal Ripken,
Okay.
Ozzie Smith.
Ooh, the Wizard.
Yeah, and Barry Larkin. Yeah. Those were my three. And I gotta throw an honorable mention to Eddie Murray, because you know, when I was growing up, I didn't get to see Mickey Mantle, and Eddie Murray, when I was growing up, was the man as far as switch hitters go. So I gotta throw some love towards Eddie Murray as well. I loved watching those. I wanted to be, you know, a combination of those three shortstops. You know, I was a big white kid, you know, and Cal Ripken was, you know, the new young stud on the block, but I wanted to be flashy like the Wizard, and I wanted to have the all-around game of Barry Larkin. And those three guys, to me, just watching them on TV, their goodness and their just genuality oozed through. And I was like, man, those three guys seem like good people as well. And now obviously getting to know them and play against them, and obviously sit down and have dinner with them at the Hall of Fame every year. I was right. I was a good character.
Now I gotta take it off the field a little bit. Now I gotta tell you a little bit about me. Now I've been retired for 3 years, and I'm into different things now. One of those things that I'm into now is hunting. On Friday, I am going quail hunting.
Oh,
I've been before, and I really enjoyed it. But this
now
Friday, I'm quail hunting with some of my boys. But I noticed that you're an outdoors guy as well. You love to hunt. What are some of the main things that you love to hunt?
I'm basically deer, whitetail deer. I've been in the had a TV show on the Sportsman's Channel and Outdoor Channel for 17 years now, and we are strictly bow hunters. Like, all we do is bow hunt. But I still love to wing shoot, you know, to go down and hunt the quail and the dove and the ducks and whatnot. Obviously, turkey season's coming up right now. But so we start, you know, in September out west, you know, spotting and stalking and chasing elk and mule deer with a bow. And it's extremely difficult. You know, I mean, no offense, but anybody can sit back from 300-400 yards away and shoot a gun at, you know, at something and be able to cover. But when you got to get within 40, 50 yards of them with a camera following you, you know, it's quite the challenge. And I dig it, man. To be honest with you, the reason I love hunting so much, and I know you can attest to this, we're under the microscope so much. We're in front of the camera so much, in the spotlight, I guess you could say, so much. That time when we're hunting is so cathartic. It's so just, you're able to recharge the batteries. You leave the phone, you know, in the truck, no TVs. It's you and nature, maybe a buddy or two. And man, some of my most important decisions of my life have been made while I've been sitting 20 foot up a tree, freezing my rear end off, waiting for something to walk by, you know. And that's I love it, and that's the reason I do it.
Who taught you how to hunt? Did you learn growing up, or did you learn while you was playing baseball?
And that was a dad thing as well. Whatever my dad was doing, I was doing. He,
Yeah.
you know, he hunted quite a bit, fished quite a bit. So we're big hunters, fishermen, golfers, you know, stuff like that. Anything we can be competitive in. Hey, whoever catches the first fish, owes a Coke. Whoever catches the big fish, owes a Coke. You know what I mean? Just that's how he motivated me.
I want to know how's fatherhood been with you, with all boys?
Yeah, 7 of them, 7 boys. It's crazy around Christmas, I can tell you that. I got my oldest is about to turn 23. I've got a 20-year-old at Kennesaw State. My 15 and 16-year-old, they're at Fellowship Christian in Roswell. My 15-year-old is really actually a pretty good football player. And then my 10-year-old is my stepson. So his mama is 5'3" and was a cheerleader at Kentucky. And
no, don't you do that to me, Chipper. This interview has been going great. And then you want to go tell me about his mother being a cheerleader at Kentucky.
Yep. At least he didn't play football in Kentucky.
You're right.
So my 10-year-old's dad was also a cheerleader at Kentucky, and he's like 5'6". So he's going to be vertically challenged, you know, growing up, but he's got the heart of a lion, loves to play baseball and football. And, you know, I think, you know, my 2 and my 4-year-old, with the athletic ability of mama, and my genes, hopefully that 2 and 4-year-old will support us for the rest of our lives, you know, and they grow up to be, you know, athletes. Look, I don't push them in any one direction. I want them to be happy with what they're doing. My oldest is coaching a couple of 14, 15 U teams over in Athens. So he's got the coaching bug as well. My 20-year-old, not a speck of athletic ability whatsoever, but as smart as a whip, kind of one of those gamer type kids at 20. And then the other 2, you know, are the other 2 teenagers are typical teenagers, being rebellious, you know, having to stay on them about the grades, you know, lazy from time to time. And so they're always a challenge. But there's nothing that beats being a daddy, you know, and
I know, trust me,
handing out that advice and trying to set a good example is a daily grind for us dads.
Now, one of the things I love about you, and I've done the same thing in my household, is that you named one of your sons after you. I'm actually the 4th. My son's the 5th. I love when people continue the tradition, right? Because it skipped before it got to my son the 5th. At one point, I think it skipped one person.
Mm-hmm.
We were lucky enough I was able to continue it.
It's an ode and it honors someone you respect. You know, I mean, my dad started the name, and I would not be sitting here talking to you today if it was not for my dad and my mother, but more so my dad, because we were attached at the hip. We were best friends. He was a great example. He was a great mentor. So he gave me his name. I'm a junior, and I felt like I needed to thank him by doing the same. So my son, the gamer at Kennesaw State, is actually Larry Wayne Jones III. We call him Trey.
I like that. Now you have another son named Shea, who was named after Shea Stadium, because my guy Chipper just used to just abuse the Mets every chance he got. How did you come up with that though?
You know, Shea Stadium, a lot of people, you know, say it's a troll job of me, you know, against Mets fans. I really didn't feel that way at all. I loved Shea Stadium. It was one of the ballparks I hit the best in. I great hitter's background. Obviously, the fans being on me all the time, you know, kind of motivated me to take left-hand turns when I get to first base as opposed to right-hand turns back to the dugout. But not knowing what we were going to have, my wife and I love the name Shea. I played against a guy from San Francisco Giants named Shea Hillenbrand. And I was like, man, I love that for a boy or a girl. You could do it either way. So when Shea was born and word got out that I had, people thought I was throwing shade at Mets fans by naming my kid Shea. Look, I hit my first home run in that ballpark. I played in one of the most memorable games of my life after 9/11. We were the first team to come into New York and play a professional game after the towers went down on 9/11. And Mike Piazza hit a home run that night in the bottom of the 8th inning to beat us 3-2. And, you've got Diana Ross singing the national anthem, 21 gun salute, which I still have cartridges from because I was playing left field where the 21 gun salute was that night. There's so much that I'll remember. A grand slam single that Robin Ventura hit against us in 99. Just so many games and so many moments that place means so much to me. It was only fitting that I pay respect to that place as well.
Now, your son Cooper, is he named after Cooperstown? Because Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So you're doing it right, man. That's what I'm talking about, man. See, you creating something. You're gonna listen. Do you know how many people that you're gonna influence by doing what you're doing with the names of your kids?
It means something.
Setting right there.
Yeah, it means something to us. My wife was literally 9 months pregnant the day I got inducted. Luckily, not for her, but luckily she was like 9 or 10 days late with Cooper. But yeah, just another great summer where, we're hallmarking the summer by getting elected to the Hall of Fame, but we're also hallmarking it with another beautiful baby boy, and to be able to link the two just seemed like the right thing to do.
I got 2 more questions for you. In 2021, what do the Braves need to do to get over the hump?
Stay healthy, number one. Mike Soroka going down with the Achilles injury last year, I think in his second start, was huge. I think that would have possibly propelled the Braves over the hump last year. We'll never know. Got to keep him healthy. Got to get significant contributions from young kids in the starting rotation. Ian Anderson came up, represented himself really well at the end of last year. Freddie Freeman is going to have to continue to be the cornerstone. Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to have to take the next step. He's already a star. He's going to have to take the next step to superstardom. Right now, as we sit here, the Braves bullpen is not what it was last year from personnel standpoint. Hopefully that will be rectified here in the next couple of weeks before we head down to spring training. But look, they've already knocked the top off. All right, we made the playoffs. We finally won a playoff series. We had the eventual world champs down 3-1 in the National League Championship Series. Couldn't close the door. Now it's time. Now it's time. It's time to take that next step. Just as I said, those players need to take the next step. They need to gel as a unit and take that next step and get us to the World Series and win it.
I like that. Last one. You were the number 1 overall pick, National League MVP winner, 8-time All-Star, World Series champion, jersey retired. You coached for the Braves. You're in Cooperstown in the Hall of Fame. When you sit back and reflect on your life, did you ever think that all those accolades would be on Chipper Jones's resume?
No. If I said that I didn't walk into Fulton County Stadium or the TED at one time or another and look up at those jerseys that were retired and say, you know, I want to be one of those. I want that number 10 up there at one point. I'd be lying, because I thought about it every single day I stepped in there. Look, I think the most important thing when you're playing, you keep your head down, you go out and be 1/9 of the equation that helps win a ball game that night. I know that if I field my 3 or 4 plays in the field flawlessly, you know, I'm as prepared as I can be for my 4 or 5 at bats every night. The numbers are going to be there at the end of the season. To be honest with you, I know it sounds crazy, but I've been more busy after I got done playing with these kids and various other ventures that I have, that there's not a lot of time to sit back and reflect, if you know what I mean. So, but to sit here and talk to you today and have you rattle off all those accomplishments, you can't measure the goosebumps on my arm with a yardstick, my man. It was truly, I walked down the halls of my house with my head held high, knowing that I did it right. I played the game the right way, and I accomplished an awful lot. And I'm very thankful, you know, that I stayed healthy as long as I did, you know, minus, 7 knee surgeries, a couple of ACL tears, and but, you know, nothing that we can't persevere through and overcome.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Chipper Jones. Chipper, I want to thank you, man, for joining the HD Connection. It means a lot to me. I grew up watching you. You're up here in my book, and even I'm put you higher. You're all up here in my book, Chipper. So thank you for coming on my show, man, and devoting your time to do this interview.
Loved it, buddy. Anytime you want to sit down and talk again, I had a great time talking to you. I wish you the best as well.